Welcome, everyone. So I'm Chris Smith. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Robotics. Slip provides a solution for loading and unloading trailers quickly in kind of the autonomous loading robot space. So with me is Anthony Lepore. I'll turn it over to him to introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Lepore. I'm currently the operations director at GE Appliances in Louisville, Kentucky.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony, and thanks for being here to chat. So first off, I'll just kind of give a little bit of background on kind of the problem that these types of solutions are working to solve. So some of the challenges at loading docks right now are, one, you have slow and costly manual loading processes. So this is, often you'll have a staging lane. You will move pallets one by one into a semi-truck. That takes anywhere from 25 to 40 minutes if it's a pallet load. And then same thing on the other side. You're moving often from that truck into a staging lane, which takes a lot of time and cost. Second one is that there's a high risk of both damage to product and equipment, as well as injury. So you have things like cross-traffic risk. When the forklift's backing out of the truck, you have fall-through incidents in the trailer, you have pull-away incidents at the trailer. All of those are high-risk environment. The dock is often one of the riskiest environments in a manufacturing plant. And so, that can be a significant challenge. The third problem is that a lot of the traditional automation in this space is both kind of inflexible and expensive. And that leads to longer ROIs. It can lead to, when you have a high SKU mix, it can be difficult to solve the automation problem around the dock. So what automated loading robots do, ALRs, is they reduce that loading and unloading time from 50 minutes down to 5 minutes by basically becoming a moving staging lane that stays often with the trailer during transit. So basically, freight gets loaded on just like it would get loaded into a staging lane. It moves into the truck quickly, stays in the truck during transit, and then comes off on the other side. So you get that quick kind of 5-minute load, 5-minute unload from staging lane to trailer. So I have Anthony here with me, so I want to make sure I give him plenty of time to chat. The first thing we're going to talk about is kind of what GE looked for as they looked to automate their dock. Kind of what were some of the driving factors in that. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Anthony.
Yeah. So, just high level, we've got 5 different manufacturing plants all on site. Pretty big plants. We've got a couple of logistics centers within a couple of miles, and really all of these logistics centers handle our international parts. So when we take these international parts and we meter them over, we're on hourly delivery routes from some of these international logistics centers. One of the big things for us is how do we minimize the amount of inventory, obviously, that we're holding inside of our facility. So we were trying to make sure we hit these hourly routes. And a big part of it is if it's an hourly route and it takes 45 minutes to an hour to unload the truck, we're constantly in this fall behind of 30 minutes. That hourly route turns into an hour and a half, and now our frequency's less. So we find ourselves holding more inventory inside of the plant. So when we first came across this technology, we said, let's give it a try. And we've got it moving right now in 2 of our facilities that go to each of our 2 logistics centers that are nearby. So it's been helpful so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe we can dig in a little bit into kind of what that workflow looks like for you guys as you kind of look to automate this.
Yeah, so if you look, that's a map of Appliance Park. The blue route that you see just services one of our plants, AP5. That's the one that I work at. It's a logistics center. Like I said, we've got about 600 plus international parts that go through that location. We run about 1,500 units a day, and constantly hourly route, full truck is coming through to kind of bring what we want. Now, like anybody else that's ever been in manufacturing, we set the schedule, obviously, but the schedule changes from time to time, minute to minute, hour to hour. A lot of times, I don't know how many times I can remember, we're sitting there and we're waiting on a truck, and truck gets there, we're down to 1 or 2 parts on the line, and the part that we need's on the nose, right? So you've got 30, 45 minutes, you've got 2, 3, 4 truck drivers trying to dig that thing out. With this technology, it's 5 minutes, it comes out. It doesn't matter if it's on the tail or in the nose, we can get it and we can go. So we saw that a lot of the times as well. The other facility that you see on the map, that yellow route, that's a different logistics center. That goes to our AP3 plant, and that they run a dishwasher over there. So it's a little bit of a different pace than AP5, but there's some repack operations that happen there, racks that go on these, and they do like 4 times a shift delivery for those guys.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's great. Let's maybe show a little bit of kind of what that looks like. So maybe you can walk through kind of what's on here, how it gets put on the bots, all that type of workflow.
Yeah, so these are the inner doors that we get. It's an international part. These go for our dishwasher. They come in, they get repacked into these racks at that logistics center. And then it's just a constant flip every 2 hours. They're flipping a truck. At the logistics center itself, the empties come in, they get loaded, they get put onto the truck, they go, and it just keeps moving around every 2 hours. So that's just an example for our AP3 location that we currently use.
Yeah. So like at both sides, they're basically forklift loaded.
Correct.
Yeah, sit
Correct.
down, or is it?
They're sit down.
Sit down. Nice.
Yeah.
And it looks like kind of the racks are like 6 feet. So they're kind of like a pretty large rack, or?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure the size of those racks, but they are a little bit bigger than a standard 4x4. This is a different plant than I'm used to, but I have seen the application. I don't know the exact specs of it, but they are pretty big racks.
Awesome. Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about kind of what kind of introducing this looked like, some of the things but the good things, the challenges, kind of
I think the initial challenges were, these aren't going to work. It's the typical any new technology that you're trying to put in anywhere. When you've got plants that have 1,500 to 2,000 employees, they're trying to take my jobs and stuff like that you get into all the time. Really what we went into it with was efficiency of unloading the truck, the safety of not having to have the fork truck drivers go into these trailers, and the integrity of the product as well, right? So the quality and the damage. This thing comes off, we get it from the sides, we're not digging into the truck. The trucks always have some issue with it. If it's pouring rain outside and you find out it's got a hole in it, then the driver's tracking all that water into the building, getting on their truck. Is it an electric truck? Is it a gas truck? You've got all those different things. These are just coming into the building. Obviously, they can still get wet if there's a hole in the trailer, but these are all just the things that everybody mentioned. Is this going to be a problem when we first started implementing it? And to be honest with you, when we turned it on, it started working, and really haven't had any problems with it since. The only problem that we've had is we're growing. We're implementing a lot of new equipment into our facility, and the spot where we use got squatted on by the engineers for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. So we had to kind of put that on pause for a little bit until we got that in place. But all in all, they turned it back on and just started. So, I mean, it's really been beneficial for us ever since day one.
Yeah, as you thought through kind of that workflow, maybe we can go back actually a couple slides. As you thought through kind of what workflows you'd initially target, kind of what those workflows should look like, what were some of the kind of key driving factors that you think led to that selection of those?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the time to unload, obviously, like I said, and trying to turn that truck to make sure we get that hourly route. Now that we've got that hourly route, we're looking, and we know that it works, and it's solid every single time. And as soon as that truck's unloaded, we can attack those bots to get it to the line. We're reducing our inventory inside of our facility and pushing it back, right? So manufacturing plant has to be reserved for manufacturing, right? Any of the material stuff, and I'm a materials background guy, any of the material stuff, in my opinion, needs to be pushed out as far as it can, because that plant is that valuable space for the operations, right? So really what this does is it allows us to not have as much of that space being taken up it's serving as our unload and our staging, right? So at our logistics centers, for example, we gained a huge efficiency in time of loading, because between pick to load, what you're looking at is, typically they'd pick and stage the next 2-3 trucks, and then when the truck came in, they'd load the truck, right? Well, now they're picking and they're staging onto these robots, and as soon as the truck's available, it's just 5 minutes, the truck gets loaded, and then it's off. So, I mean, it's really around time, efficiency, and the reduction of inventory and labor inside of the plant.
Yeah, makes sense. I appreciate it. Maybe we can skip and talk a little bit about kind of some of the results that you guys have seen as you've implemented, and where in the process kind of those results come from.
Yeah, a lot of the benefit that we've gotten so far is around the stuff I've already mentioned. It's a lot of the time savings, right? So, really, I think this is just the foundational part of where we're going. I think this is kind of the first part of how do we get this to fully automate from unloading to get it to the assembly line, right? That's what everybody wants to get to. Once these start coming in, we're going to start looking at how do we build onto it with other robots that can come and pick off of these and deliver to the assembly line itself. So, it's hard to say exactly what the primary benefit has been. I see it more as a foundational piece for us to be able to build into fully automating, getting that material directly from the dock door all the way to the assembly line.
Yeah, that's great. As you look at kind of, there's different components, right? The interesting thing about this space is that you're basically dealing with kind of 3 components of material flow, right? You're dealing with often an offsite warehouse, the actual transportation, right? And then the manufacturing plant or the secondary facility. And so really, oftentimes that savings is kind of spread across that group, right? So there's obviously forklift labor savings on the warehouse side. There's forklift on the plant side. There's driver labor and, not waiting to get loaded and unloaded, or if you're doing a drop and hook now, being able to move to a live load unload. So there's all those kind of like considerations. So I think what's interesting is you have the opportunity to kind of pick and choose what makes sense to get the savings first, and find that. So let's talk kind of a little bit about what you see. You kind of mentioned this, that it's kind of this foundation. Maybe you can kind of just expound on kind of what that looks like, what you think the future of both Slip and kind of how it lives in that ecosystem that you guys are creating.
Yeah, so I think it's just again, I think it's like that foundational piece to start. So we're scoping and we've implemented a few, but like when these, for example, for the plant that I work at in AP5, so these come in, again, it's all international parts, they're all in cardboard. So we've got all the cardboard that comes in. We're looking at how do we throw our returnable containers on top of these when they go back to the logistics center so that they can sort, clean, repair, palletize, and start working on a container management system going back to the suppliers, right? Again, it frees up more space inside of the manufacturing plant to where we don't have to stage, marshal, and sort and do all those different types of things. So again, the more we use them, the more eyes that get on them. We see more and more applications that people bring up. Hey, can we bring this down the main aisle and just have a robot pick off of it as a water spider, so to say, to bring it directly to the delivery location? Somebody just asked a couple weeks ago, can we use it as a Mardi Gras float? We said no, but it's that kind of presence where it's moving. It's a foundational piece, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think, there definitely is opportunity when you think through, you have an ability to move 10, 20 pallets at a time, right, with one of these bots. So there's definitely opportunity to move just in bulk material handling, basically, which is not super commonly done in the industry today. Any other, so if somebody was looking to kind of implement this, kind of what advice would you give them? Like what would you kind of have them look at initially? What, in both kind of the consideration of what sites to select, just how to approach. Yeah,
I would definitely just say, take a look at your application that you've got, right? we've got an old plant. We had an issue with one of our dock doors, but we found out it's not even a standard dock door. It's like a 70-year-old dock door that, it's got stuff that comes in on the side to where the fork truck drivers are having to dig in through it. So make sure you take all the considerations of what your facility is and make sure you're able to accommodate it. But get with these guys and see if they've got a trial one that you could use, because that really, when we brought one in and let the people get familiar with it, that's when they started saying, oh yeah, this is going to work. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. At first it was, that's never going to work. And then it turns into, hey, this might actually work. I don't have to go in that truck anymore. This is going to be great. It's cold in the winter. We don't want to go into the truck every 5 minutes, or it's super hot in the summertime. I hate going in there, right? This kind of takes all that out of it. But, really just take a look at the application that you have, try it out. And, we've been super happy with the results, and we keep getting more for more of our different plants. And, I think we're probably somewhere just around in the beginning for what we're going to do.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate it. And definitely appreciate you being here and talking. Yeah, we'll open up to some questions if there's any questions.
Question: What is the weight of the equipment, each piece of equipment? On how many? I see 3 loading. So what is the total weight of the 3, just to take out from the capacity of the truck?
Yeah, that's right. So each SlipBot or ALR is about 2,500 pounds. So about 7,500 pounds in a trailer. Yeah, and the key consideration there is we often say yes, you take height, we take some height, we take some weight, but because you can turn those trucks super quickly, especially in those short haul scenarios, that's really what you should be optimizing for, right? Because that's where the cost is in the labor and the load and unload when your transportation is 5-10 minutes, right? And so that's the key consideration there. But yes, definitely as you think of really heavy product, where you're truly waiting out right now, it's definitely a consideration in that.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ron. Hey, there is definitely improvement in profitability and efficiencies. After you have implemented, how your profit was impacted, is you guys have measured percentage of profitability improvement for these processes? There's efficiencies are being calculated, but the question is how your profit in your organization have improved.
Yeah, so from a profitability standpoint, it's all about just there is labor that comes out, right? So we've got some routes now that we're trying in one of our other facilities where this bot loads an automated trailer that goes to its distribution center, right, for some finished good products. So that labor has been taken out of that whole value stream. So, it's not a percentage or anything like that. It's just what the ROI showed that it would make sense.
Hey, afternoon. You had mentioned you have a long-term vision of total automation from bringing it truck to, I'm sorry, I'm almost spoken to you, Sophia, bringing it to the manufacturing components. Do you have an immediate, let's say, next steps of integrating any of these data points to a WMS, WCS, WES, TMS, any of the acronym supply chain execution platforms?
Yes and no. Each of our plants are at a different point in their maturity, I would say. Trying to get some of the foundational and fundamental pieces in place right now. Just even something as simple as just a PFEP, right? That would have to be used to kind of drive a lot of tying the PFEP to the bill of material and getting it all synced up. That's a big part of where we're at right now from a digitization standpoint. Once our digitization journey is more mature, we can start tying in some of this equipment into systems and stuff like that.
So the demo seems to be very manufacturing centric with short turns. do you have any kind of thought process or white papers around a more distribution-centric, where you're a more distribution-centric model with longer transport times? So you're moving stuff around within your own network.
Yeah, I think there's a couple answers I have to that. One is most of these ALRs, as they currently sit, are most optimized for short haul, high frequency transportation, right? And most of that is because they generate value in bursts, right? They generate value during the load and unload and generate very little value kind of during the transport. And so the more turns you're doing, the more value you're generating. There's definitely kind of future products that we're looking on that would solve kind of for a longer haul. But there isn't anything on the market right now that we think is a great solution in that space. Awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate all you coming out. Hope you enjoyed, and hope you have a great rest of the ProMat.